Thanks a lot. You know, I would talk to you earlier about how much I love carnies. And one of the things about hanging around with carnies and being a carny for a while myself is that you sort of come to an epiphany at a certain age of your life about where you realize that you always thought that you treated your friends better than you really did. That if you'd have put a little bit more effort into it, you could have treated them better. I had a friend who was a knife thrower in the carny down in Aiken, South Carolina. He had scoliosis. And I remember walking up behind him as he sat down in the middle of the tarmac of a Piggly Wiggly grocery store with a pair of cutoffs, and his spine was shaped like an S, and the sweat would run down the S into the back of his cut-off jeans. And he would sit there with a red Crayola and 3 or 4 Piggly Wiggly grocery bags, those brown paper bags, and he would draw hearts on them one after the other. And he took them over to his Ford station wagon and he pinned them up onto these bales of hay, and he walked right back at me with what he called, see, what he wanted to do rather than be a carny, he wanted to be an artist. He wanted to do this perfection of a thing called pawn shop knife throwing. Rather than the weighted knives that all the other guys threw, what he wanted to do was gather this collection of Korean, Japanese, Chinese, cheap pocket knives from pawn shops, and he wanted to learn how to throw those in case he needed it. Yeah. Well, as he went back and he put those bags of hard on the back of that station wagon, he came back to me, and as every step that he took, he opened one of those knives, you see, one of those pawn shop knives. He opened them until he had them all spread up like a fan, just like a fan, in front of my face. And he turned and he threw them into those hearts on that bag. You see, Billy had a wife who was 17 years old named Janet. She was also a carny, great friend of mine. And she was a slack wire walker. Are you familiar with slack wire walkers? Instead of a tight wire, is slack wire. And the deal there is you get to rolling it back and forth, and she would run up and down the wire with sparklers and hula hoops. And she, the talent. She had hair down to here, and she wore these multicolored leotards, and she had perfect little Barbie feet. I never missed one of her shows, actually. I thought she was brilliant. And she was married to a man named Billy Harbaugh that was a knife thrower. Well, as Billy walked back and he fanned out those knives in front of my face like that, I knew that Billy was a poet. Poet of a greater kind than I would ever achieve. He was telling me that he knew that I was having an affair with his wife. He was letting me know how it all goes down here with us carnies. Well, a better man would have tried to talk it over, I'm sure. But at my age, I think I was probably 18 or 19 years old at the time myself. And I was not a better man. I left town The next morning, I snuck out of town like something out of a Dickens novel. I scurried out. I never heard from Billy Harbaugh again, a person that I considered my friend, and he considered me his friend. Well, it wouldn't shock you, I suppose, to know that things between Billy and Janet just didn't work out. She went to Michigan. She married a lawyer. She had children. And she put them all through college. She and her lawyer husband. I used to get birthday cards from her and Christmas cards at times. But I remember I wished that things could have been better there. I wish that I could have been better than I was. This is a song called All So Much Like Me, because when you're young like that, we usually want to be around people who are like us. Now I want to be around people who are not like me. Play this song. It's another Carney song. There's some good water, I'll tell you that. It's like Spartanburg peaches, don't it? You know that Billy's got a girl that's cold as a switchblade, walks the wires at night. Born and raised on a Carolina midway, likes my song, she said. She said she liked my songs, alright. You know that Casaubon was a fiddling juggler outside Baton Rouge. We got laughing drunk on tennis balls, fiddling blue suede shoes. And he looked like Elvis, too. These are friends of mine, strictly first name basis. Memories of stitch and time, I'm no good with faces. Well, they all had smiles that I remember, and all were born in late September, and all were prone to the cabin fever, man. They were all so much like me. And they were all so much like me. And they were all so much like me. And they were all so much like me. You know that Sonny was a Filipino boy. He lived in my backyard. He broke my grandma's dandelions, catching snakes in jars. I think she whipped us much too hard. You know John had an El Camino car, and he dressed it up in primer. Took his girl to the wedding church, and she never did look fine. He went to Mexico without her. These are friends of mine, strictly first name basis. Memories of stitch in time, I'm no good with fate. Well, they all had smiles that I remember. All were born in late September. All were prone to the cabin fever. Man, they were all so much like me. 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 You know that Billy had a girl as cold as a switchblade, walked the wires at night. Born and raised on a Carolina midway like my sauce. She said she liked my song.